The smoking gun felt like a body part now. It had fused to his hand sometime between when he opened fire and when he heard and felt the first fruitless click of the empty magazine as he rapidly pulled the trigger again and again. The muscles in Officer Green's limbs shook from adrenaline and fatigue as he held his .40 at arm's length, aware of more things at once than he knew was possible for a human brain. The man spread out on the pavement, the pop, 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 pop of the other officers' firearms, the burnt smell of gun smoke, every single light source that illuminated the dark and grisly scene, the placement of each squad car and officer, the pulse of blood in his ears, the churning in his gut, even the mountain of paperwork that would be waiting for him because of this. But what he perceived most acutely in this whole slow-motion mess was a simple phrase that ricocheted around his brain like the silver bullets just fired from his department-issued pistol. The phrase felt so pronounced that it seemed to be written in neon lights above the limp body of the suspect. And it was simply, "Congrats, you're screwed." Officer Green waited for the suspect to change form. Initial reports said this one was a shifter or werebeast of some type, but the full message hadn't been coherently conveyed from the frantic caller to the telepath dispatcher, then back out to officers near the location. But the suspect didn't change, not even a little bit. Maybe he wasn't dead. Or maybe he's not a shifter or werebeast, you idiot. Green ignored that last thought, realizing that he should check to see if the guy was dead before thinking of worst-case scenarios. And then maybe he should begin life-saving measures if this jerk was still kicking. Nothing had ever seemed more absurd and also more urgent to him than rendering aid to the suspect he'd just plugged with at least a few silver bullets. Oh, crap. What if I missed every shot? What if it was one of the others that hit him? That possibility was somehow more dreadful than the one where he just killed another creature for the first time in his life. "Stop shooting!" he shouted, although the other officers had already done so by then. Green approached the suspect quickly but cautiously, his shaky fingers fumbling with the spare magazine as he attempted to reload. But then he felt the magazine strike gold and extended his gun out in front of him. "You good?" shouted Officer Lawrence, rushing up to his side. Green didn't dare lift his finger from his pistol for a second, not even to give a thumbs up. He nodded exaggeratedly instead. "Yeah, you?" "All good," Lawrence replied, close on his right now. "Brooks, you good?" "Yeah, I'm good," she replied. "Weapon secure?" As he bent down toward the suspect, the smell of evacuated bowels alone should have told him all he needed to know. But he had to be sure, not just for his peace of mind, but because procedure called for it. This situation was messed up enough without him piling policy violations onto the heap. There was an alarming lack of blood for how many bullet holes were immediately visible. The odd detail lodged itself into Green's mind, even as he reached in his belt for his gloves. But before he could successfully slip them onto his sweaty fingers, a firm hand on his shoulder caused him to turn. He stared into the clear blue eyes of Officer Heather Valance. Never in his life had he thought he would be relieved to see his nightmare of a former field training officer in all her terrifyingly intense glory. "Oh, hell," Brooks said from somewhere behind Valance. "Looks like I'm shot." As his worst fears bubbled to the surface of his mind, he leaned to the side to see past Valance. The suspect's gun dangled in one of Brooks' hands, and she looked down at her leg like maybe someone had splashed a little mud on it. "I think I'm okay." She looked up and waved off the other officers. "Just nicked me." As Officer Lawrence rushed over to her anyway, Valance grabbed Green's shoulders and shook him gently. "Take a deep breath, officer. Think. What's first?" He struggled to turn his brain on again. It seemed to have ducked for cover the moment the suspect fired, allowing instinct and training to take over. He swallowed,